Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Washington Wrap, where we have 10 minutes to sink our teeth into the issues of the day, giving you our expert opinions, analysis, and sometimes not so expert opinions and analysis. My name is Chad Ryan. I'm your host. Joining me on today's episode, we've got Felix Trammell, the Washington football team beat writer from 1340 Fox Sports Radio in the DMV, and making his Washington Wrap debut on his birthday, no less, we've got Chip Brierre. So let's bring those guys on the show. Let's get things started. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about the NFC East storylines we're looking at this season in 2021. So we've got 10 minutes to wrap it up. Felix, Chip, I know you guys are keen to get stuck into it. Let's get the clock ticking. Chip, I'm going to start with you since it's your birthday. Pretty easy question. Is there one specific storyline within the NFC East you're looking at in 2021?
The specific storyline I'm most interested in is how all of the rookies from the 2021 class play out. You look at the Eagles getting Devonta Smith, you look at the Giants getting Kadarius Toney, even the Washington football team with Jamin Davis. There are a lot of great players that just got added to the NFC East, and all of them have the ability to go out there and make a difference immediately. I think Jamin Davis has the most important role of those three rookies I just mentioned because the defense is already solidified as a great asset to that team. The other two are just trying to build on what they have. Daniel Jones needs more weapons. Jalen Hurts needs more weapons. So they're not really solidified. They're still discovering themselves. It's really going to be up to Jamin Davis in that rookie class to show he was the best pick of those three. It's going to be hard to argue because Devonta Smith did just win the Heisman by a sizable margin, breaking all kinds of records. But seriously, the rookies coming into the NFC East, really excited to see how they do.
And, in terms of those draft picks, there were some NFC East storylines on draft night, with the trades that were made with the Eagles and the Cowboys and the Giants, what that meant for them as well.
Peak pettiness.
It's what we've come to love from this division. So I think that's a really good one. Felix, before we get to yours, your thoughts on the rookies that we're looking at in the NFC East and your perspective on that as well.
I think Chip nailed it. It's just the NFC East needed an infuse of talent, and the NFC East it was a good run, but the Eagles had gotten old from their Super Bowl run, and Washington is in the midst of a rebuild and restructuring the roster. The Cowboys just had to obliterate their defense, and they're pretty much starting from square one. So Jamin Davis probably has the least amount of pressure because he walks into such a great situation on the defense. So he can just be free to play and roam and attack because he's going to be around the most talent he's ever seen playing behind that defensive front. So I'm excited to see that. Devonta Smith, I want to see how his size holds up. I know everyone freaked out at the 170. Deshaun Jackson played at that weight, but Deshaun Jackson was just a blur. And Devonta Smith is fast, but I don't know if he has the quickness that Deshaun Jackson had. So I wonder if he can go through a 17-game season now. So I'm interested to see that. And I want to see how Micah Parsons does because he has talent off the charts. But, it's the other stuff with him. And going to the Dallas Cowboys, which is always kind of a circus, I don't know. He can either be really good or he can flame out really quickly. So those guys are interesting to watch.
And just a quick add-on to that, Micah Parsons and Jamin Davis are now attached at the hip for the rest of their careers while they stay in the NFC East. That is something else on top of the rookie debate or discussion that I think we need to focus on too, because those two are attached at the hip and their success is going to be compared for years to come.
Yeah, and in the interim, at the very least, and this is something you both touched on, Jamin Davis seems to be in the better situation in terms of the team he's landed on and the defense around him for immediate success. We'll see if that sets him up for a better career. I think it's easier. Pardon me. I think it's easier to have. No, that's the wrong words. I think Jamin Davis, the position he plays inside, is different enough that it's going to be hard to, really compare Micah Parsons and Jamin Davis for their entire careers. However, Jamin Davis really does appear to be in a position to succeed now and build upon that for his entire career, where Micah Parsons has a bit of a challenge in his rookie year, and that's going to really define, the next 2 or 3 years of his career. Hopefully that makes sense, but that's where my head is at when I think of these two. But you're exactly right, Chip. Given the nature of their draft positions and how that happened, they are going to be compared for a long time. Felix, what's the storyline in the NFC East you're going to be looking at? What draws your attention?
I'm interested to see how Dak Prescott plays now, coming off that major injury, and his humongous contract, which he rightly deserved, the Cowboys offense was clicking on 10 cylinders before he got hurt. And they were never the issue. Their defense just couldn't stop a soul. So I'm interested to see how he plays now, knowing that he has that security coming off of that injury, knowing that the offense is still going to have to carry that team for a while because the defense is going to be young, learning a whole new system. So he's still going to be expected to put up 30 points a game. And to see how he physically looks will be the story of the year that I'm looking for. The NFC East is not dealing with Washington because I don't expect much from Philly as they're going through a rebuild. But Dallas is a team, especially Dak Prescott. Let's see if Ezekiel Elliott looks any better because he did not look good last season. See if he looks lighter and more explosive. And if he can get to those weapons that they have on the outside, the Cowboy offense has potential of being all-time great.
Yeah, look, that's a really, really good one. And while, Dallas has gotten better just by the inclusion of a long-term deal for Dak Prescott and, a couple of people added, like we said, Micah Parsons and stuff like that, it's never really about the people they've got on paper for the Dallas Cowboys, is it? Their season is either... there's some storyline, Felix, you said it always. It's always a circus with the Dallas Cowboys. Something happens, and it's whether they can ride that circus out successfully or not defines their season. But hopefully the Washington football team can play a disruptive role to their circus this year and really go in there and knock them around a bit. But my storyline, which is a bit of a segue into this, is just how crazy, especially for the Washington football team, the schedule is for the NFC East this year. In the first 13 weeks of the 17-week season, not including the bye week, which makes it an 18-week season, we only have one NFC East game, and then the last 5 games of the season are all NFC East games, which is absolutely insane. And I know because the fixture came out over a week ago, a lot of people have already spoken about this, but when you think about what that actually means for the NFC East, where it's extremely rare to have the same team win the division in consecutive years, Washington has a really, really double-edged sword here. There's a great opportunity, but a great risk in terms of backing it up and becoming the NFC East champions again this year. They can be reasonably mediocre in the regular season. They've got that bye week right in the middle of their season. If they need to put some guys on ice for a couple of weeks just to make sure that they're healthy for the end of the season, that's a luxury that they have now. Because, if they're, 500 running into the last 5 weeks of the season, if they can win 4 of their last 5, odds are, given their opponents, they're going to win the division. Unless the Dallas Cowboys do something crazy, like go 13 and 3, but 13 and 4 now that we're in the 17-week season. Unless there's something, crazy like a team going on a real tear like that, this division is not going to be won until the last 5 weeks of the season by anyone. Really, really crazy. Chip, I mean, we haven't seen anything like this in the NFC East for a long time.
No, not at all. And you hit the nail right on the head. I think the best part about the schedule for the Washington football team is that final 5-game gauntlet, because you really can get into playoff mode. And that's what coaches want. They want to be playing their best football going into the postseason. And if Washington, looking at the schedule, there's a lot of tough games on there, but some good confidence builders before you go into that final 5 games gauntlet. Carolina, Seattle, Las Vegas. Those are 3 winnable games. You can get on a roll. Then you get into that division schedule, Dallas, Philly, New York. And like you said, you win 4 or 5, and you're Ron Rivera. You have to be feeling great about your chances to get past that first game of the playoffs, get past that wild card round.
Yep. Well, we are inside the 2-minute warning now, gentlemen, so we have some final thoughts. But before we get to the final thoughts, we have to talk about the Iron Man for the Washington football team of the last 10 years, Ryan Kerrigan, signing with the Philadelphia Eagles. It's pretty rare that a fan favorite signing with a division rival isn't met with, instant hatred for that player. But it's been nice to see fans of Washington football get like, what, Ryan Kerrigan? Like, we wish Kerrigan. You well for 15 of the 17 weeks this year. Felix, it's
he pulled a Brian Mitchell.
It is. I can think of the kid with Brian Mitchell when he went to the Eagles and we hated it. But with Kerrigan, he was such a good teammate and person that people don't really dislike Ryan Kerrigan. It wasn't one of those, oh my God, I can't believe he did it. It was like, oh, he wants to play. And it made sense because he really wasn't going to play here. And like you said, 15 out of 17 games, people will be rooting for him, especially when they play the Cowboys. It's somebody, go hit Dak Prescott a few times. That'll help us out tremendously. So people hate to see him go, but he was such a stand-up guy for this team, and he was a sense of pride amid a lot of chaos. So there's not much animosity from the fan base on this one.
No,
yeah.
not at all.
And real quick, just 1 second, the fact that that's gone and Morgan Moses is gone, you're seeing that Washington's building for the future. They aren't keeping these pieces around. They have their eye on the future with these moves.
Yep. All right, 20 seconds. Because it is your birthday, Chip, I'm going to give you the final thoughts. The NFC East this year is going to be won by the best team or the most fortunate team?
Both. Washington football, best and fortunate because of the last 5 games.
We have heard it there, folks, and the clock strikes 0 as we finish that. Chip Brierre, Felix Trammell, 10 minutes to wrap up the NFC East in 2021. I feel like we've done a pretty good job there. There's always going to be curveballs and monkey wrenches with this division. I can't wait to watch all the craziness unfold this season with you guys. Happy birthday again, Chip Brierre. Anyone following this, if you're watching this on the video, you can see his Twitter handle underneath his lovely head there, but you can get him on Twitter at Chip_Brierre. And Felix Trammell, always a pleasure having you on, my friend. You can get him on Twitter for now at HTTR and Blessed. He has said that he's holding out to change that handle until there's a potential permanent change, name change for the team. And I kind of get that. I kind of respect that. All right, boys. Thank you very much. For everyone listening to this, please subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. And as I said, the aforementioned Twitter accounts as well as my Twitter account. Make sure you're following us along. And thanks for listening. We'll be back next time. And we'll wrap it up in 10 minutes.